Welcome to day 192 of our DeSo journey. I'm Ed Krasenstein here with my twin brother, Brian. And, it's a weekend. There's not too much news as far as DeSo goes, but there's a few things we can talk about. Uh, the price of DeSo has fallen a little bit over the weekend. It's down to, I think, 143 after hitting a monthly high of, what was it, about 161?
I think 161 was the highest it hit, 161.14 maybe, if I'm remembering accurately.
Yeah, so I mean, you can expect the roller coaster ride, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it spike, what, nearly 150%, I think, from the lows of 51. So to see it pull back is to be expected. I expected it to kind of level up, at least in this slow time period between the big DeSo announcement and this announcement that's coming on Tuesday, which we feel will be some kind of fund from the DeSo Foundation. We don't know for certain, but all indications point to it being some kind of developer slash creator slash NFT fund. We'll see for sure in another 2 days, though.
Yeah, and yeah, like you said, we'll see. And I mean, we can talk about some other things. I think now's a good time to talk about the why decentralized social media is so important for, I guess, the internet as a whole. You hear Web3, and I think decentralized social media is going to be a big part of Web3. And there's multiple reasons why I think, we need to move in this direction. You hear about censorship, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they censor you. They censor people, I guess I should say. And, while it's hard, there's arguments on both sides of it as far as, freedom of speech goes. Because, that freedom also gives these corporations the freedom to have their own speech. And that speech includes, moderating their websites and taking down stuff they don't want, taking down speech they don't want. Freedom of speech really, it gives everybody that freedom, including individuals. If you're in a country that has freedom of speech, like America, individuals have freedom of speech, but so do the corporations. And it's the government that can't take that speech away. So when you talk about telling Facebook and Twitter that they can't censor people, you're actually talking about taking freedom of speech away rather than giving it to someone, because corporations and individuals can take freedom of speech away from others when you're using their business or using their platform, but the government cannot.
Right. And that's important to note, but also it shows that DeSo kind of fits right into that middle area, because although DeSo is the DeSo blockchain, you're never going to be able to remove anything from it. And anything you post will be on that blockchain. Each individual node has the right to moderate that data any way they want, moderate it and bring it forward. So like every node on DeSo is basically a lens into the DeSo blockchain. And that lens gets to choose and moderate however they wish. So what DeSo does, it allows for free speech. Anybody can post whatever they want. And then every node has free speech in order to bring up whatever they want. So that is tremendously important. It means that governments cannot say, hey, I want to censor this person or this topic. They can't do that. They would have to bring down every single node. But it also
and with that said, it also, if we're living in a world where Twitter is part of DeSo, I think we should look at that scenario. If Twitter was part of DeSo, sure, yeah, they can take down posts because they have that freedom. They can take down your speech because they have that freedom, but your speech in DeSo would still exist, and you could create your own node and it would show everything that's on Twitter plus your speech, or anybody could create a node and show everything that's on Twitter plus everything that Twitter has blocked. So your speech doesn't get erased.
Right. And that's the central problem, is that Twitter is controlling that data. That data, your data that you're making these posts are controlled by Twitter or Facebook, and they own that data as an asset. Whereas on DeSo, the data is a fire hose, and that fire hose can be hooked up to any other platform. So if I wanted to create my own social media platform, I hook up to that fire hose and I get that same data. whereas Twitter is controlling that data and can instantly take all your data. We lost our Twitter account. All of our posts are gone. We have no access to those posts. But if it was on DeSo, then we could just simply plug into the fire hose of the blockchain and pull forth all those posts and all that data. And we could create our own social media platform with that data. So that is super important. And that's probably the most important aspects of DeSo. But I think there's other aspects as well. And that's the fact that users take control of their earnings. I mean, right now, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, they're raking in billions and billions every quarter. And this is off the backs of the users. If they didn't have users, they wouldn't be making that money. You've got Facebook selling ads against content, and that content is being provided by the users. But if you're on DeSo, you take control of that. You can monetize your content however you wish. You can get diamonds, you can get founder reward, you can start charging for certain posts. There's going to be subscription services where you can say, hey, I want to only allow access to my posts by people that have a subscription, and you get that money.
There's utility
Twitter or
NFTs.
Facebook don't.
Utility NFTs. That's something I think we're going to see emerge as DeSo becomes more popular.
Yeah, and so I think there's so many different aspects of everything within DeSo that really makes it stand out. And I think people need to understand that what DeSo is doing is revolutionary in multiple levels.
Yeah, and we're seeing social media sort of censor misinformation, and people are having a problem with that because they feel like all the information should be out there. If it's not true, the community should decide. But then there's people, on the other side, things that say, we have a pandemic going on and misinformation's leading to, issues with that. So DeSo also, I think, solves that problem because, each individual node, or when I say node, is essentially a website or app, can censor as they wish, but that information's still out there for anyone to find through another website, app, or node.
And I think Natter brought forth a really good point during the town hall last week. And I think there's a lot of focus on DeSo and decentralized social media in general, in that, hey, it's going to allow these hate groups to congregate or misinformation to spread wildly. But it's actually the opposite, because now anybody has access to the entire database. Anybody, any data scientist at MIT that might be running a course or a study on misinformation can just tap into that data and have the whole stream. They can't do that with Twitter. Twitter has it hidden. Twitter has control of it. We all have control of the DeSo database and the blockchain. So I think it can actually help those things. We can track hate groups better. We can track misinformation better. And that's all super important. Now, if a node wants to bring forth that hate and that misinformation, they can, but the fact that we can track it and we can kind of understand where it's coming from is super important.
Yeah, and it's the same thing goes for like terrorism, terrorists can organize on social media, and Twitter, like if the government wants to go after these terrorist groups, they have to subpoena Twitter and go through this whole process. But now all that data is actually available in a blockchain for everyone to see.
Right. Yeah, so I think that's probably, I mean, if you're not looking at DeSo in that way yet, I think you should be, because it has tremendous future benefits to, I think, society as a whole, to free speech and just to freedoms in general.
Yeah, I think it, and like you see the politics in play, and I think DeSo fits right in the middle of that. I think it like fits perfectly right there. But I think that's a good place to leave off. Tomorrow we're gonna have the NFTZ launch, which we're really excited about. It's our NFT node that we've been working on with M. Van Halen. So we're excited about that. And then Tuesday comes the news from BitClout that I think everybody's all very excited about. So we'll talk to everybody tomorrow.